And we are live from New York, from Mitch's den. My first full week working from home. I have to say, it's gone really smooth. It's been really good. Everyone in the household has been cooperative. We're a family of five, and everybody's doing their thing. So I'm really appreciative of that. I'm appreciative to all of you who have tuned in to spend your valuable time watching me, and I hope I am uh, delivering value to you. That's the most important thing. If I can deliver some value and help make you be your best, your best financial self, then I am very happy. You are very happy, and the happiness just grows. So, welcome to another edition of Be the Boss of Your Money. Okay. Be the Boss of Your Money is about personal finance. It's about investing. It's about business. It's basically about just a multitude of topics to help make you better with your money, so you could make better decisions financially, and like I said, be the best financial version of yourself that you could be. It's an ongoing thing. There's never a time when you've learned everything there is to know about personal finance. It's an ongoing, hopefully a labor of love. There are some days when you love your personal finance, and there are some days when you hate your personal finance. But you have to just balance the highs and lows, kind of like the stock market. We have to balance the highs and lows. We can't get too upbeat, too uppity, just because the market has a rally and accounts go up, right? Your account value goes up, but you can't get too down about it when the market goes down as well. I was thinking, I use a financial planning software. It's state of the art. It's called Money Guide Pro. And what you notice is when you're showing somebody long-term projections based on the past, because let me explain. The stock market returns, they are an average, which includes bull markets and bear markets. Over time, up markets and down markets average each other out, but the bull markets rise typically more than the bear markets fall. Okay, but since it's an average for a long-term investor, bear markets don't throw you off your probability of reaching your financial goals. They don't do that because they get averaged in with the next bull market, and then the bear, and then the bull. But the bulls are bigger than the bears. The bears are scarier, obviously, but they're not. But just from a quantifiable number, the bulls over time are a lot bigger than the bears. So that's why it's so important to stay invested. And the only surefire way for a bear market to really ruin your probability of financial success, of you hitting your long-term financial goals, is to panic sell. Because if you panic sell, not only do you lock in your losses, you miss out on all the upside. Also, you miss out on the recovery, and then years and years and years of compounding. And it's a very difficult decision to get back in, because I've been saying this, I think, every day this week, that if you decide you need to sell all of your stocks or stock investments, or a lot of it, just because you're worried that the market's going to go down, you might be right for a period of time. But that's it. The period of time ends, and then the market recovers. The world is renewed, and we go back to our old ways. Brother, I hope you like the background behind me. It is, I believe that's the Brooklyn Bridge. No, not the Brooklyn Bridge. What I was saying, it's Manhattan Bridge. This picture, this behind me, this location. Yes, I'm on location. It is a beautiful spring day in New York, and it's real sunny, beautiful day. It's gorgeous outside. But this is like one of the most Instagrammable backgrounds in the world over here, because of the way it sets up, the way the bridge is centered through the buildings, and the buildings are very ornate. So we're going to talk about why people panic sell. We're going to talk about a few things that you could do to not let this bear market destroy your finances. And, it's a couple of other things. So, and the stimulus checks, of course, that's a pretty big deal, because the deal is done. So let me just roll the intro. Okay, and then we're going to take a deep dive for about 15 minutes. It's going to be a good show, and I really appreciate you being here. Welcome as well to you if you're watching this in the replay. If you have any questions, certainly ask me in the comments. But if you're watching live or the replay, I will get back to you. I will see them all, and let's roll. Okay, so why do people make panic decisions? And I've seen this in a number of places. I read about behavioral finance. It's definitely something that I think I'm pretty well versed in it because it's part of my job. Any financial advisor, behavioral finance is part of their job. It's supposed to be a good part of the job, not not for manipulative purposes. It's supposed to be a good part of your job because you're supposed to help people not react to their worst impulses. So about 2 weeks ago, I had a guest on this show, and her name is Aoife O'Donnell, and she is a social worker, master's in social work. She got a whole bunch of degrees. She also is CEO of National EAP. She's a great guest. And we were talking about action helps relieve anxiety, just an action plan, something you could do. It gets your mind off of things, or it brings about relief. So, but there's a difference between panic, to me, the way I explain it to my clients, there's a difference between an action and a panic. And when anxiety goes up so much and worry is so high, it's an emotional thing, and your ability to absorb all this information that's coming at you. The market's down 2,000 points, a ton of information coming at you. You've got your job to do. You've got the market. You've got the news. You've got the coronavirus. You think of a whole bunch of things coming at you. It's really the worst time to make a decision because you can't sit back and be contemplative of your thinking. So that leads to a massive amount of anxiety, which leads to a panic decision, like selling everything when the market's down. And it relieves the anxiety, which is what you need, what someone in a panic needs. They need to relieve the anxiety. But then they go back and they realize I made a panic decision based on emotion, and it was the wrong decision. Rarely is panic the right decision. So if you feel you've got to make a move, and it could be to buy, maybe you just feel like you need to buy into the market when it's down and you see it starting to go up and you say, you know what, I need to buy. That also is an anxiety. It's an anxiety driven action. So what I counsel clients on doing is separate the time of panic to the time of action. You want an action plan, buy a little at a time. Maybe the action of putting in a buy limit order. Hey, let's say I'm going to buy an exchange traded fund that tracks a major index. Okay. Maybe buy a little bit of it, put a limit order in to buy a little more, at a 5%, 5% lower, use a limit order or something. Do some kind of action that will help you regain some control. And if you want to sell, well, maybe what you need to do to relieve a little pressure is just maybe, I don't condone panic selling, but maybe you need to sell a little something. Or maybe you need to come up with a limit order, a sell limit order, when if a certain stock or ETF or what have you goes up to a certain point, you'd sell it automatically. Maybe you need a pressure valve to stay sane so you don't blow up your entire probability of reaching your financial goals. Okay, so that's the most important thing. The theme of the week was about recovery. Granted, the Dow was down almost 1,000 points today, but it was up a lot yesterday. But overall, it's been a pretty good week. I don't like the giant moves up in the market. By the way, I don't actually like when you see the Dow up 2,000 or 1,000 points. You might be thinking, well, don't you like to see that market? The answer is yes, but I would rather a more evenly keeled market. I would rather see the price discovery of whether, of how to value companies to have less volatility. Because when you see these giant up days, they're often followed by the giant down days. So I personally, I can't stand when that happens. I would rather, you know, you know, 0.5% moves in the major benchmarks or less, not these 3, 4, 5, 6% moves all the time. Sometimes 10% moves lately. I would rather just see a more even keeled market. So, but that's part of the part of trading. Uh, Good news and bad news is factored into the major averages very quickly, and when it happens, it creates more volatility, which I think turns off even more people, frightens more people, creates more algorithmic, computerized trading, and then things just get skewed to the upside and the downside so quickly that basically, um, I think that's worse for investors than anything else. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things here. Just want to see if anyone is out there, and I see a few people out there. I've got a couple of views and got a comment. Hopefully, when I look at this comment, it's not that no one can hear me. Okay, hey Carlos Romero, my fellow financial advisor and good friend. So great to see you. How's Boca today? Carlos is in Boca Raton. Follow him, connect with him on LinkedIn. He's putting out some good content, and he's also been a guest on my show, by the way. So that tells you how highly, you know, that I think of Carlos. Okay, he's been doing this a long time as well. So I was quoted a couple of times in an article in CNBC. I'll share my screen and show it to you real quick. Share screen. Okay. So the article is this: 5 ways to ensure the coronavirus outbreak doesn't cripple your retirement savings. It starts off over here. It's written by Michelle Fox over at CNBC. Terrific writer. I'm telling you, some of these journalists, they know so much about financial markets. They would probably make great analysts. So here's what I said. Financial advisor Mitch Goldberg, president of Client First Strategy. I know. Okay. In Melville, New York, said the last few days of reprieve have given investors time to think. So when I said is when you are bombarded by a ton of information, it's difficult to make a decision. It's only after you have time to contemplate what you've learned and how it relates to your own situation that you could really make a smart decision. That's what I was talking about before. So I'm practicing what I preach. I said this into the public realm. So I'm practicing what I preach, and you need time to think. Most of us are not that good that we could just make all these, multitude of snap decisions all day and have any semblance of order or consistently being right about our decisions. Okay. The fact of the matter is, okay, that most of you out there who are watching this, as far as investing long-term in personal finance and your 401k, most of you out there are going to be best off by just doing nothing. Keep investing in your 401k plan, maintain your balance of stocks and bonds and small cap and mid cap and international, and just keep doing that. I think people are trading themselves into oblivion to because they're following the worst of their emotions. Okay, don't hit the panic button. I was quoted alongside Dr. Brad Clont, someone I'm also connected with on LinkedIn, and he says that the vacillation between excitement and panic, that's what hurts people financially. Okay, he's a behavioral finance expert. Okay, and so put some distance between your impulse and your action. Think of it this way: if you have an impulse and you act on it, it's a panic. It could be for a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a panic, and panic decisions we want to avoid when it comes to money. The other thing is, if you put time and distance between your panic and your action, then it's an action as opposed to a panic. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, let's keep going down here. Examine your 401k contributions. Stick to it. We will come out of this. We will somehow either get enough quarantines going around the country to contain this virus. We'll develop an immunity, herd immunity. Okay, my light just went off over here. Herd immunity or something. We will get through this, and that's what I always want to convey to you. Vaccines could come out. There are a lot of things that can happen. The warm weather. We're going to find out. I know we've all been warned that the news and the number of cases, positives of COVID-19 and death, unfortunately, it's going to rise. I can't talk about finance and markets and all that without talking to you about COVID-19. It's just, I don't think you have to be realistic. Okay. We also want to rebalance. So if you have a 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio, and now it's kind of like 40% stock and 60% bonds, you want to flip that again to get back to your chosen risk tolerance. Okay. You want to maintain your risk tolerance. So that's another thing to consider doing. What else? Consider a 401k loan. Now, what I'm going to tell you is like heresy in the financial world. Okay. But being a real person, a real life person, not just another, good looking, handsome talking head on the computer. You want to, you have to do what you have to do. You have to eat. You have to pay your mortgage or your rent. You may have a family to support. If you have to take a loan from your 401k plan, and it's what stands between you and being on the street, I'd rather you take the loan. Okay. People in my industry are always talking about investing in the market, invest. But the purpose of your money in the market is not so you could pay fees on it forever and ever to Wall Street, to the investment world, the management world. It's so you could use it as a tool to help you replace your income one day when you retire, or to pay for a certain goal, like, college for your children or something like that. But if you have to take a loan, okay, you could borrow up to $100,000 from a 401k. All right. But there are some rules to that. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. Or an IRA withdrawal. No one wants to make an IRA withdrawal and pay a 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half. But you have to do what you have to do. But we're going to talk about some things that will help mitigate that with the financial stimulus plan. I don't know if you could see this, but breaking news: Trump signs $2 trillion coronavirus relief bill as the U.S. tries to prevent economic devastation. Okay. So the bottom line here is one of my last quotes in this article: you have to do what you have to do to survive this period so you can thrive when you come out of it, Goldberg said. And we will come out of it. Listen, we will come out of it. I'm going to say that over and over and over. I can't promise you when. I can't tell you that it's going to be in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months. We will come out of this. Okay. Long term, on a long-term chart, what we're going through in the market now, it's just going to be a blip on a long-term chart. If I showed you a 70, 80-year chart of the S&P 500, which is an index, you cannot invest directly into an index, but you certainly could invest in a security that tracks your movements. An index, just have to say that. But if I show you a long-term chart of the S&P 500 and said pick out 1987, you would barely notice it. You might actually have to really look hard to find it. We all hear about the crash of 87 still, even though, it's relevant sometimes, but people love to bring that up when we're in a really fast market. Okay. And that was a 22% down day in one day in the Dow. All right. So let's talk about the coronavirus stimulus checks. All right. We need to really tell you a couple of things. There are important things about this. Okay. Coronavirus checks. Okay. Got my notes here. There's a lot to know. Listen, I pretty much have this stuff memorized, but I want to make sure I'm giving it to you straight. So here's an article that I shared on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I'll put it in the comments of this presentation when I'm done. Okay, but this is everything you need to know about the coronavirus stimulus check. So pretty much 90% of the U.S. population, maybe 95%, will actually receive a check. The checks are for $1,200 if you make up to $75,000 a year, and they'll be phased out um, completely if you earn $99,000 or more. So they'll be reduced for like every $500 extra that you make, they'll be reduced by $100 in the check until they're completely reduced to nothing. And if you're a couple making up to $150,000, again, this is adjusted gross income. Okay, after your deductions, your top line tax deductions. I'm not a tax advisor, so if you have any questions about that, you need to consult with your own tax advisor. So you have up to $150,000 adjusted gross income, and that'll phase out a little higher as well. Okay, so maybe you'll get $2,400. And for those of you who are thinking, I'm not going to get any of this money, I'm not going to get a stimulus check. Well, your kids could get them. The people who work with you could get them. The people who work for you could also get them. So this helps a lot of people out. And the $2,400 for a lot of people, that could be a mortgage payment or more than a mortgage payment. Okay. The question is, will this be enough? Will the U.S. Treasury have to send out a new round of checks again in another month or two? That remains to be seen, but that's what you should know. Now, who qualifies for this? Anybody with a Social Security number and who's filed their 2019 tax return. So if you haven't filed your 2020 tax return yet, that has nothing to do with this. So that's not going to stop you from receiving your stimulus check. And if you didn't pay any taxes, even if you got a refund in 2019, you still get the stimulus check. You still get the checks if you're qualified for them, if you qualify, okay? Retirees will also get the checks. Okay, so retirees can get them. Gig economy people, your Uber driver, your Uber Eats driver, they get them. They're going to get them too. This is the first time we've ever seen any kind of, stimulus from the government where the gig economy workers also get them. It makes sense that they should get them because the gig economy is now such a big part of our workforce, of our overall, economic workforce, that it really it'll work. So I just want you to know the gig economy. If you're in the gig economy, you're getting some too. Okay, so retirees get it. What do you have to do? Also, do you have to apply for the check? No, you don't have to apply for it. You don't even have to think about it. If you file your taxes and you use direct deposit to pay your taxes or receive a refund, then the money is just going to magically show up in your bank account. When it could be 3 weeks, some people say that's optimistic. So I'm going to say 3 to 6 weeks, you should see the money just go directly into your bank account. If the IRS does not have your bank account information on file, then you'll receive a check, and that'll take longer, just like receiving a tax refund via check. So most people will not be receiving a check. Okay. So that's how the checks will be sent. When are they? Are they taxable? No, they're not taxable. You don't have to worry about that. Okay. So it's just tax-free money. Okay. So that's the deal with the stimulus checks. We spoke about how to not let a financial crisis destroy your finances. And I'm going to end it like this. I might actually end my lives every Friday by doing what I'm about to. No, I can't do it because I turned off my Outlook. So let me get out of that. Let me stop sharing the screen also. Okay, stop screen. Okay, Mamma mia. So who would be calling me when I'm on a LinkedIn on a live? Okay, I just want to check out to see who is out there. Okay, and we'll just take a quick look at Facebook. We've got one more thing to cover, and that's the blast email that I just sent out. Okay. One of these days, I'm going to get faster at this. Okay. Hey, I see a couple of friends out there. Hey, Andrew, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate that. Couple of other buds out there. It's hard to, I only see the first name out there, so I know more than one person gave me one of these. Hey, by the way, if you're working remotely, I don't mean if you're working from home and you have a home office and now you're saying you're working remotely. If you have a home office and that's how you have always worked, then you're not working remotely. If you're working from home, you're actually working from your office. I'm talking about people who typically work in an office building who now have to work at home. If you're working remotely, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions for me about how I'm maintaining productivity from, by working at home, I'd love to tell you. And we can definitely talk about some good tips and all that. And so the way I'm going to end it is like this. The stimulus is not going to $2 trillion and all the Fed policy, trillions and trillions of dollars. There's more. More has been done in the last few weeks for this economic crisis that we find ourselves in just a few weeks than the entire Great Recession. I mean, think about that. The great financial crisis that we had in 08, 09. It's a health crisis that became a financial crisis. So if you can take care of the health crisis, you will solve a lot of the problems, if not all of the problems of the financial crisis. I don't want to say all because there's always some lingering effects. And we just, it's too early to know what those will be. So if we can get through that, what I want to say is for everyone to just hang in there. We will get through this. Call friends, maintain your productivity, work on a project for a client. Look, I'm like a broken record. I'm going to be saying this every week. But if you'd like to sign up for my email distribution list, I only email every Friday. Like, rarely do I email twice a week. It's usually just every Friday. I write cool stuff, funky stuff that really puts things in perspective. I kind of write, I write from the heart. It's definitely a bit deeper than the type of stuff you're going to see from any other investment people. And MGoldberg at Client First Strategy is my email address. All right. So I want everyone out there to stay safe, stay well, have a great weekend. And I'll be back here Monday at 4:30. If you think of any topics you want me to cover between now and then, let me know. And I'll end this broadcast now. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you.